Top royal biographer Angela Levin joins me in the studio now, and sullen Prince Harry has given the clearest indication yet that he's adopted Meghan's philosophy of ditching his nearest and dearest after skipping one of his best friend's wedding. Now, this is a shock, because long-term pal Jack Mann was Harry's groomsman when he tied the knot to Meghan in 2018 and famously featured in the so-called Band of Brothers photograph at Windsor Castle during the evening celebrations. But just like his wife, the Duke appears to now have ghosted his close friend by swerving Mann's own big day in Sussex over the weekend. He was instead pictured, as we know, out and about with Meghan, smiling and laughing on the streets of California. Now, quizzed by the Daily Mail on Harry's absence from his son's wedding, Jack Mann's dad, Simon, subtly said, "I'm in no comment mode." It comes as our own Angela, the Duke's biographer, has heard that Harry is, quote, in a sad place, and he's now not even talking to his fellow British lovey pals like James Corden. So, Angela, this feels really sad that he didn't go to his groomsman's wedding. I mean, this is someone who he clearly stayed friends with, having met Meghan. What are you hearing about his state of mind?
Well, I just think that he's withdrawn from them all. I think he's got too much in his mind about, the court case, and I think Meghan, and he's very worried about that. And I think that he just doesn't want to go out very much. I was told that she goes to any party that she's invited to, of course, especially the higher up they are, the more she goes. And he plays on these sort of turntables and stuff like that. He stays in. They're not often seen on these parties. And I think he just feels, he's in no man's land, and he just doesn't want to see people, and if he does see them, he's full of moans, and they don't necessarily want to see him. I mean, Obama, who had loved Harry and did this great stint with him when in Invictus Games they did something funny with the Queen and saying, "We're winning, no, you're winning." I mean, they don't want to know them anymore. They don't want him to have bashed his family to pieces, and so they don't really want to spend time with him. I mean, it makes sense, because you're tarnished by what he's been saying.
And what about James Corden? Because, of course, they were very
James,
close.
I thought he had nothing to, had not been in touch with Harry for a long time. But apparently he's very busy in London now. And so it's the move
from California
that's made it difficult. It's a move away, and he's not going to go back there often, and he's trying to set up lots of things here. And so it's not really a cut-off. It's just that you're having a very different life. So that's somebody who he did laugh with, but is now no longer there.
And so Harry more isolated than ever?
I think he is very isolated, because he doesn't want to complain about Meghan. Absolutely not. He wouldn't dream of it. And yet, he goes to these hotels on his own and spends time there alone.
And do you think this is part of the reason why he's intending to travel to Africa on his own without Meghan for a new Netflix documentary?
Yes. I mean, he's obviously desperate to keep the details that they've, said to them, that the money that they're giving, they've got £40 million left, and all he can think of is to go to Africa and talk about wildlife and the people there. Netflix haven't said they want it, but that's where he wanted to go. He told me when I was interviewing him for the biography that actually he longed to go to Africa, and he could help stop the certain animals dying out, and that's where he felt most at home. He said, I call it my second family, and my second home. So that's what he wants to do. But Meghan wouldn't be seen there. It's sort of in the rough. She did after 2 days they dated, but now she doesn't want to. And I think it's terrible. Will he be allowed back into America because he's said all these drug things?
Well, and of course the Heritage Foundation continue to investigate, don't they?
Yes.
Now look, Angela, just hang on 1 second, because breaking tonight, the top journalist and television presenter Fiona Phillips has announced she has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. The Daily Mirror, where Fiona's been a long-time columnist, has revealed tonight that the 62-year-old was told she had the illness a year ago after suffering months of brain fog and anxiety. The former GMTV host told the Mirror's editor-in-chief Alison Phillips how the disease has affected her family. Watch.
Because this disease has had such an impact on
my family. It's absolutely decimated. My mum, my dad, my Uncle Barry. It just goes on and on. It's just... And they always used to say to me, it's not hereditary. Well, there's something going on.
And do you think, though, that, hopefully these drugs will be able to help other families?
Oh, good grief, yeah. Because it's... I'm just getting on with it. I'm not taking any notice of it. I'm just getting on.
Now, she's talking there, Angela, about the fact that she is taking some revolutionary new drugs to try and help slow the onset. I have to say, I'm really heartbroken about this. I worked with Fiona for years when I was on the Lorraine show, and she would be the fill-in presenter when Lorraine was on holiday. She's a very good woman.
She's very courageous to do this, actually, because...
And you know her too, don't you?
Yes, I do. I interviewed her lots of times and went to her home for tea and things like that. And actually, she talked a lot to me about her mother and her father. Her mother got Alzheimer's when she was in her 50s, and it broke Fiona's heart. And then at the end of that, she discovered that her father had it too. And she did stop working and become a carer, which I think was incredibly impressive, and looked after him. And she did say, look, it's in the family. I'm bound to catch it. And your heart breaks because it's such a terminal thing, and you don't know really what's happening to you, except you know something is.
And this is a young woman. She has had such a verve for life. She's obviously very passionate about the projects and everything that she works on. We should note as well, perhaps this puts a bit of a different angle on the recent controversy involving her husband, Martin Frizzell, who was the editor of This Morning. Of course, he was highly criticised after leaving their house and making this inappropriate joke about an aubergine to a reporter for Sly News. But perhaps, Angela, on hearing this news, do we perhaps think that actually Martin has been going through a lot in his personal life?
Yes, well, it's an enormous stress, because I think this terrible thing of having a partner who you know very well and then seeing them become somebody quite different, and you can't really help them, you can't change it, you can't make them better.
Because we saw it, of course, with Scott, with Barbara Windsor, and that was heartbreaking to witness. But the key thing for me...
Also for her children, she's a very caring mother.
She is.
And she loved both her boys.
Of course, and that's
much.
One of the reasons why she left GMTV, because the hours were such a strain.
Exactly, the hours were too much, and she couldn't manage the two jobs, and so she was going to be at home and do other things. And I think that's very good in today's world, when she's very successful, what she did. But she did put her family first, really.
And that's really precious time, which all of a sudden looks more important. I mean,
yes.
Really heartbreaking news. Fiona Phillips...
Terrible, actually. 62. I mean, it's...
62, that she has Alzheimer's. But some hope because of a revolutionary new drug, which I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot about.
She's brave to try it.
Absolutely, she is, Angela Levin.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.